Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the Cārvāka podcast. This is kushalmehra. Today, we're going to talk about another book, and the book's name is India's New Right Powering the Current Wave of Nationalism and Civilisational Revival. And I have with me the author of the book, Abhijit Majumder. Abhijit Dada, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, Kushal. Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, it's my pleasure. First of all, it's very awkward because this book also is featuring me. So I was telling Praveen when this has to be the weirdest podcast that I'm doing because I'm going to consciously avoid the part about me because you were kind enough to mention me in this book, and I've known you for a while now, and I've always respected you a lot. And so for me, I was the best. जब मैं प्रवीण को बोल रहा था, I was like, यार, I was not feeling right covering this because Dada was so kind to mention me in the book, but here we are.
You had caused enough trouble to mention you for me to.
So, but I don't want to give away a lot of the book and the characters you've covered, other than me, which I've mentioned. But I want to stick to the first part of the book, which is the introduction where you explain the civilizational cyclone alert. I want to stick to that part of the book. First of all, you start the book by mentioning very clearly that you categorically state, and I'm reading this right from your book, we have used right in quotes as a convenient portable shorthand in India's new right, strictly to be understood in Bharat's context. So basically, this is something that a lot of us, even offline, have discussed, that actually India does not have a right wing in the classical Western sense. So then why choose the name of India's New Right? Was it for ease of people understanding it? Like, what were the reasons behind?
See, what are the options? I mean, a lot of people, I have seen some people call themselves non-left or call this whole thing non-left. Now, you cannot define something by what it is not. It's not okay. You can call somebody Indic, but Indic would, it is not very easy to recognize that. Dharmic is too loaded a word. I mean, imagine to call, I mean, I'll find it a little difficult to call myself dharmic or you dharmic. We may sort of strive to be. And Kushal, why not right? See, I mean, the West doesn't have monopoly on that word, right? Just like a faith doesn't have monopoly on the color green. So India's right is a very different animal from the West. India doesn't, India's right doesn't believe, most of it doesn't believe in absolute out and out laissez faire market economy. We believe that we have a very large population which needs to be sort of lifted from poverty. They need some positive discrimination, some kind of if we may say socialist interventions, some kind of interventions with direct benefit transfer or other ways. There are people like Mr. Gurumurthy, who believes in somewhat first protecting the domestic industry and the massive unorganized sector that India has now slowly started sort of getting into the mainstream and financially included that. And the book itself is a example of how not monolithic is India's right, how diverse, just like India is India's, if you can call it right. I don't think right anybody should have a monopoly on the word. Just because the French used it in, used the right side of the parliament for conservatives and left for the left.
So what would be the common factor then? Honestly, the common factor is that all of them kind of dislike the left, right?
Nah. No, left has, I think left is that way a lot more monolithic, a lot more sort of theory bound, and uh, the right, on the right, the common factors would be a strong sense of nationalism, for sure, a strong sense of pride uh, in our wisdom, in our cultural unity, in our swa, as I later on go on to sort of talk about, of this land's cultural cultural heritage, and how we have unique ways at looking at the world, a very different way of looking at the world, not the way the West looks at it. But yes, nationalism, cultural unity, pride in our past, uh, you know, uh, a mandate for a very strong, uh, defense and security environment. These would these would be common. Economic strength.
So I guess territorial integrity, I agree, that is one factor that unites a lot. um definitionally, on the side of civilizational continuity, that would be a common factor. Now, how to achieve it and what degree of it is fine, but yes, on paper a lot of these things would be in agreement. But then when you started researching for this book, like, why did you decide to, let's say, pick a chapter, pick a topic like this? Because hypothetically, um, do you think a theoretical explanation is needed of what is happening in India? Do you think there is still a lot of scope of theoretical ambiguity about what actually is happening in India, what people mean when they say, like, I'll give you an example. I read this guy Edward Luce's book on 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 Indian nationalism and all of that, and I mean, he wrote it from a Western perspective. He is a Western author. So basically, he calls it Hindu nationalism in the Indian diaspora, transnational identities, and politics of multiculturalism. Now, I honestly, I want a lot of Indians to read this guy, the way he covers India and explains India. And my whole point is, I'm actually glad you wrote this book, is because a lot of times you are not able to explain what Indians actually want, what the Indian non-left actually wants, and what they're explaining. So what were your driving factors in
My
deciding to
driving
write this
factor
book?
was, I'm a journalist. I've been a journalist for nearly 30 years. What I have been trained to do is to report about what is happening, is to show, is to, um, uh, I would say, disseminate what I see. And this, what I see is this really special moment. We haven't seen anything like this. There might be a lot of ambiguity, and there should be scope for ambiguity. We are not sort of a culture which is in black or white. Uh, so there will be a scope of a lot of ambiguity, but there is no ambiguity about the fact that there has been a very, very strong rise in the sense of nationalism, the need for revival, the if you also call it, the element of shatru bodh, that there are enemies which are out to destroy what we have. This whole continuity, civilizational continuity. There are people who, to whom, in this, about 1,000 or more years of civilizational war. We have conceded not just very sacred geography, but also a fair bit of culture. There has been constant assault on our on how our history or our own story is written. It has been distorted. It has been, as you can see in social media now, some of it has been invented. There were characters that were invented, not just not just subversion of events and truth. So the sense about that, I suppose there was this sense, but what happened, Kushal, I believe, is that two there were several very important events that led up to this. But Congress, ironically, which has borne the brunt of much of the political blowback of this movement, Congress, ironically, brought in two things which really has powered, or I would say, sort of ushered in this movement. One is globalization. Globalization started making Indians a lot more confident about themselves. Whether you speak Hindi, Gujarati, Bangla, Tamil, whatever, whether you speak English with a heavy accent or, completely, uh, uh, you know, uh, hardly can speak English, you could still go out there and succeed. Globalization ensured that we sensed that we could go out in the world and succeed against people, against people out there. We can compete with the world. So that confidence was happening, was building, and almost within 2-3 years, the first public internet was launched. BSNL launched it in 95. So both happened during Narasimha Rao's tenure. And internet, of course, led to, all sorts of knowledge flow, completely disruptive ways of learning and, getting information, and also sending out information. And it led to social media, which, of course, has again been a very strong driving force of this movement. And people had, there was great discomfort. There was great discomfort, whether it was vocal or not. It was silent, but there was great discomfort at the fact that there were Hajj subsidies, there were all sorts of this iftar parties thrown by up to the prime minister and president and the and Sonia Gandhi and everybody. But Hindus seem to be the soft targets intellectually as well, because you don't you don't lose a limb or your life for criticizing Hinduness. Anybody could come and do whatever they say, whatever they wanted to say. Then there was Shah Banu. Then there was 2611. Then there was the communal violence bill of 2011, which which was so egregiously slanted against the majority that even Digvijay Singh of Congress spoke out that no, this is just it's not okay to have this bill. It was dropped, but that was designed by Harsh Mandar, who was also part of the NSE, the National Advisory Council, which, I mean, that was crony socialism at its height, at its peak. And what Vivek Debroy described as, neither fish nor fowl, but having tremendous control over decision making. So all this, there is no doubt that all this has led to a moment in our history, um, a slice of moment in Bharat's life, which is very important for me to capture. That was the that is what sort of um, made me take up this book, write this book, that I should chronicle it, and I should not chronicle it. There is one way to do it is of course my interpretation of it, my analysis of it, my a take on it. But I thought that if this movement has characters, many of whom are prominent, like you, prominent faces who have contributed intellectually, whatever, in terms of uh, also resisting, breaking narratives down, but also forming narratives. But there are also, this book also features people who are working in absolute, like, the remotest parts of India, remotest parts of Northeast, hills, and faceless. I couldn't even mention them. Some of the names I could not mention because they would be in grave danger. I mean,
I know.
some of them working in Manipur, for instance, and doing stellar work. Excavating lost, forgotten games, songs, uh, by the dozens that were forgotten in the march of, this whole demographic change and mass conversions and stuff like that. And they are not, getting rewarded, or they are not like social media heroes, or TV personalities, or writing books like us. But they're doing incredible work. They are preserving seeds, indigenous variety of seeds, cattle, animals. It's phenomenal stuff that people are silently doing. And that I see, it's not just in social media. The buzz is not restricted to social media. If you speak to, when I speak to, I was speaking to a building guard last night. I was startled uh, by terms that he was using. He's from East UP, and he had a certain clarity and articulation that tells me that this moment is not a ordinary. By moment, I of course mean a span of several. I mean, at least say 10, 15 years uh, or so, and it's ongoing, and much of it I believe is irreversible. Whether the government changes, whether uh, uh, whatever happens, a lot of it is irreversible. You can't put
Oh,
it back in the bottle.
so let's build on this. So you're saying the Overton window has shifted now significantly. Let's say I was born in 81. Growing up, there were just some things you could not discuss. You
Absolutely.
just can't.
Yeah.
Now you're saying we can say a lot of things, and so that so how much of the shift it is in the Overton window as far as your experience is concerned?
I think because we are in it, we don't realize how much it has sort of shifted. Maybe
Especially
somebody,
kids who are 25, 30, उनको तो पता ही नहीं होगा.
उसको पता नहीं होगा कि क्या होता था, कि कुछ भी
But we
बोलो.
saw.
हाँ, but I mean, you would be cancelled, and how? I mean, it. We blame the woke generation of canceling people, and being really unnecessarily combative. But we, in our generation, the cancellation, or even before that, people who have faced people like Jaduna Sarkar and I mean, absolutely fantastic minds. What they have faced is not just. I mean, it's a complete ironclad cancellation.
Yeah.
Nobody will do a peer review. Nobody will do and nobody will give you any work. Nobody will talk. And then there's absolute vilification. Now, अभी क्या कर लेगा कि तुम लोगों के साथ चलो वो नहीं करेंगे, पार्टी नहीं करेंगे, तुम लोगों के साथ मिलेंगे नहीं. We will, call a few publishers not to publish a book. But beyond that, look at look at the airport, bookstore, Kushal. It, the so-called non-left or right, it's full of books on, non-left books. Just think how the Overton window has shifted. It used to be completely a bastion of the left, these bookstores.
Yeah, you know what I find very interesting is now, because see, because of the
Your book,
politicization.
Nastik, would you have, you wouldn't have probably seen it in the stores.
No, it would not have happened. It would not
It,
have happened.
it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. And what I find very interesting is like publishers now, when I talk to them off the record, they'll never say this on the record. They said only non-left content sells now.
Yeah.
Left-wing content barely sells anymore. They're openly admitting, they're like, in our marketing strategy, we have these old dinosaur lefty authors that we have to carry because, either the boss or the erstwhile boss or something in the hierarchy in the top is still very left-leaning. They have to, but they also have to have a bottom line. And because the country itself has changed so much that the country doesn't want to read a lot of left-wing material anymore. They're frustrated with it.
Yeah, so it's
That
a market. It's a
yeah.
market. They can't do a thing.
So yeah, you're
I
right.
I mean,
Yeah, it is. It's fascinating because, and not just one author. They tell me about this with multiple authors, that they're like and they are now actively scouting for new authors. Like even the idea, अरे दादा आप ये सोचो ना, when you started journalism, could you have thought of like Blue One Ink and all these kinds of publishers coming out? कभी हो सकता था क्या? अरे कभी
even self-publishing would have been difficult, boss.
Yeah.
Even the people who print the bloody pages.
Yeah.
Would
You remember how much Rupa publication used to struggle? Sitaram Goel and all of them and all, कितना struggle करते थे वो लोग. That उनको printer नहीं मिलते थे. Geeta Press Gorakhpur were almost going down. Like all the kind of things.
It was almost dead. I mean, it has been revived now. I see some. So it's Overton window has shifted in ways that it is, because we have been inside it, we don't fully realize. But if somewhere to come from that point of time and this point of time, will be flabbergasted. वो क्या रहा है ये?
How much do you think the internet has been the blessing that actually led to this? Do you think this ironclad control over information dissemination would have broken? Like I'll give you an example. I came on Twitter in 2010. Now it is X. I remember at that time, Sunanda Vashisht, obviously all of you journalists were there. Prasanna, Amar, Center Right India, ये सब जो होता था तभी. This used to be like the I'm talking about UPA 1 days. I had come at that time, and some of us, we were not trained journalists. Like whether it's me, Amar, Prasanna, we were not, or Sunanda, we were not trained journalists. We were just mildly articulate people who found a platform, and for us this has been a blessing. Like if there was the internet, there would be no kushalmehra. If there was no internet, I was the textile guy. मैं तो अपना factory में कपड़ा बना रहा था. So that's what I could do.
So this is what the book. If you look at the book, almost everybody featured there. Or I would say about 80-90% people featured there have come from outside.
Yeah.
So without the internet, many of them would not. But yeah, Sai Deepak would not have probably been a lawyer, would have done technology and, uh, you know, Advaita Kala would be in Abhijit Ayar probably. Well, both of them.
Abhijit would
Uh,
have been a think tanker, but not like the kind of, force of nature Abhijit is today.
yeah, think tanker, or I mean, he was in the hospitality business as well, right?
Yeah.
So was Advaita. So it's amazing how internet actually has sort of changed, and social media has changed things, because I have been in mainstream media, and I've been talking about things much, well before Modi came to power. And I was then the editor of Hindustan Times Delhi NCR edition, which was owned by Congress MP at that time, Shobna Bhartiya, GD Billa's daughter. And people would tell me every day कि अभिजीत तेरा कल तो नौकरी जाएगा बॉस, तू ये सब मत लिख. हाँ, ट्विटर में बात कर रही है. So I don't know. I mean, that kind of, and now everybody, a lot, almost the entire uh, mainstream media uh, has somehow uh, become pro Modi and stuff like that. But at that point of time, telling anything against Congress, even from mainstream media, especially in mainstream media, was very difficult. Very difficult. Was
So, can we talk a little more about this? Because off late, see, because why I want this topic to come out is because you're a journalist. You have seen that time. And nowadays, this term of Godi media is thrown all the time. Godi media, Godi media. So my answer to that was media was always in somebody's Godi. That was the phenomenon. So why are you saying Godi media? Now, can you share maybe how hard it was being a journalist and the pressures of being a journalist at that time? Because people think Modi came and journalism somehow has become, dead and docile in India. Sab mar gaya, sab khatam ho gaya. So can we spend some little time, because I
and
think people will
at
understand the
that
context
time,
of the book.
that time and even now, Kushal, I think, I mean, I've been one of the, for some reason, I mean, they have special love for me, and the kind of hounding I keep facing even today. But I'd say give you an example. There's this woman journalist. It's very sort of left, Congress leaning, so-called liberal, secular, whatever. She got a great story scoop on Priyanka. Got a bite from Priyanka Gandhi, uh, was which was a. I mean, she was very excited about it. We were carrying it front page, etc. And I used to get a call from the owner of the newspaper at around, say, 8. And so she called and said, Abhijit, is there a story on Priyanka Gandhi? I said, yeah. What is the story? I said, what? I told her. She said, please drop it. Summarily, I mean, a phone would go from Ahmed Patel. The family was, could not be touched. Editors have lost their job. Reporters have been have lost their jobs for reporting what is absolutely right. I mean, any people, the rest of the people in Congress were, you could still talk about, criticize and stuff, but the family was sacrosanct. I mean, even now you could write day in and day out, write things against Modi. Only in UPA, towards the end of UPA 2, did, for the first time, the media was started questioning the Gandhis. Otherwise, imagine, Kushal, just go back and look at the back editions of newspapers, or there would be, I'm sure, video archives of the TV shows. यूपीए 1 तक, यूपीए 2 का भी early UPA 2 तक, you find me there were so many scams, scam after scam after scam. See, and you are not questioning the family that controls the party and the government. I mean, there's hardly any record, and they call Modi fascist and all that. I'll give you very quickly a few examples. Um, there's this murder of Chandan Gupta in बताओ यूपी में in one of the riots, and everybody was sort of talking about it, tweeting, etc. Chandan was just, I think, 18-year-old, Kasganj mein, Kasganj. So I also tweeted about it, and then there was another news that started circulating that another chap, almost as young as Chandan, has been killed. So I tweeted about it that, oh, there is a second one. Next day, if all hell breaks loose, the police hold a press conference saying that no, the second one has not been killed. Only Chandan Gupta, of course, has been killed. And I get a letter. I mean, there was a letter. I think only time in Indian media's history did a sitting chief minister write to the owner of a newspaper saying, please sack your editor, Abhijit Majumder, because while everybody, I mean, including Aaj Tak, sab log, NDTV also was reporting. And then they, of course, retracted. I also said the first part of my tweet stands, but the second part is, the police has clarified it hasn't happened. It's a developing story. So the CM sent a letter. Then Congress, 1 year ago, sent a legal notice. I'll send you the piece that I had written. For that, they sent me a legal notice. I don't know who woke up and nobody read the piece also. I just said that Rahul Gandhi is so deracinated and westernized that he just doesn't understand India. That was the piece. They sent me a legal notice. Anyway, they didn't act on it. Then, of course, this Udayanidhi Stalin, I wrote a piece on his whole extermination of Hindu Dharma. One day I was getting ready for work and I get a call from CNN News 18 office that, there are 4 Chennai cops who have come to Noida asking for you, looking for you. I said, okay, it's very strange. So then apparently there was a FIR. So I spoke to Sai. He asked a lawyer to, then I got in touch with my lawyer. My lawyer said that please don't stay home. Let's check into, either go somewhere else or check into a hotel or so. Imagine I'm doing all this here, and then I spoke to the Noida authorities and police. Noida cops were monitoring that they shouldn't sort of just yank me away to Chennai. I had to go to Chennai twice, spend a few lakhs for appearances, meet the cops twice, and the cops were also, I mean, they said, sir, what to do? I mean, this is a political thing. And then it has been quashed. Just some time ago, my phone suddenly stopped.
That was freaking insane. I was in Canada जब आपने ये बताया था.
Mamata Banerjee's police complained to Airtel, and they used a loophole in the law, IT Act, saying that some fraud activity is going on in Abhijit's phone. So, वो 24 घंटा it was blogged. Then bloggers in Calcutta, media in Bengal and media here, national media made some noise. So this level of, so who are we? I mean, people talk about fascism by Modi and Shah. So much more has been written against Modi and Shah. I mean, they didn't, pick up. And if they cite people like Rana Ayub or Zubair, Rana Ayub has been picked up for actual financial fraud when she faced this whole problem with the authorities. So I don't know. It was Goti media, etc. Anybody who has done journalism before Modi know Goti a lot better. The journalists used to actually fix deals, give decide who's going to be on the cabinet. So that for me is Godi media. Almost in every scam, some journalist name or the other has come up during the Congress era, from coal scam to 2G to all the scams. So,
it's insane. It's insane how much people don't realize. Like we say, it's a criticism was that it's tough for journalists in India cutting across this landscape of India. Then I don't mind that having that discussion. I mean, in fact, one of the reasons you've always kind of had this criticism of me amongst the left is because of my stand on free speech. I believe I don't care if anybody's sentiments get hurt. I say like sabko bolna chahiye. I mean, even if religious sentiments are hurt. But the point is that if that was the discussion, I am with people who are raising their voice. But the point is, it's always partisanship. Everybody is like, there is so much partisanship. But do you think, because this book is about the Indian right, what you are talking about, India's new right, do you think the India's new right is more open to diversity of opinion compared to the establishment left?
Absolutely. Left is a lot more. Left is almost like it's a fourth Abrahamic religion, was communism. And they don't, look at what the left has done in history. I mean, the biggest mass murderers have been communists and socialists, from Lenin to Stalin to Mao to Hitler. People, I mean, they try to pass Hitler off as right winger, but Hitler Nazi party is National Socialism. The brown shirts were, avowedly socialist. He nationalized everything. Then Ceausescu, Pol Pot, all of them are leftists. Castro, Che Guevara, Castro. So this whole intolerance bone is part of the left. Stellar intellectuals like Trotsky have been completely othered, hounded by the left, because they just, there was a little, as they call it, revisionism. So what are we talking about here? You can discuss, and if you, sorry to cut you, Kushal, but whenever there is something that the government does, whether the finance minister announces something, or the PM sends Chadar to Ajmer, you will find strident criticism of the so-called right-wing government from the right. But have you seen the left criticize their governments, or the Congress ecosystem criticize the decisions of the Congress in the states now, please, with that kind of vehemence and openness? And it doesn't happen. They are not. The ideology doesn't. The DNA of the ideology doesn't support criticism, openness. and freedom of speech.
Before we wrap up, I just wanted to understand, how did you go about forget me, everyone else? How, why, and how? What was your methodology like? You must be having something in mind, right? Before you decided that I'm going to make certain points in this book. Like, I'll give you an example. I'll give the listeners an example so that they understand. Like, uh, narrative war, mainstream media versus social media. You have different titles. There are 11 chapters in the book, right? But how did you decide which personality fits with, and why would I add X personality in this book? Like, what was the process of deciding that? And I just wanted that to be my last question to you.
No, so first I thought of the book in terms of verticals of subjects. I mean, history, economics. There's a chapter on gender as well, LGBTQ. Then there is something on minorities and conflict, cow. And then then I thought of people who, of course, I know about, or I have researched about a little bit, or I know about, and then I chose the ones who are the biggest pain in the ass for the others.
Yeah, well, I can definitely say some of the names, irrespective of, and you know what the beauty is, that some of the names you've all put together in the book, they don't even now speak with each other or agree with each other, which is what I
That's
liked about the book.
it's unfortunate, yes, but listen, I, I mean, yeah, this is one area where people should just sit down, thrash things out instead of stopping to speak with each other and whatever. But
No, in fact,
they have
I've always admired that trait about you. You have, because I've followed your work for such a long time. Like, most people don't understand this, because I love reading papers. So I always knew about you because I was reading papers. So I was reading you. Whether it's you, I read an array of people, and I have, like, my thing is, like, do I agree with everything Barkha Dutt says? No, but I read her. I like to read. I
exactly.
love reading. I talk to Barkha also. I talk to Shekhar. Do I agree with everything Shekhar says? No. But I want to read Shekhar. I want to know what Shekhar is thinking. And
Yeah,
for me, I always had that respect for you, because, like, do I agree with everything you say? No. But I want to read you because I respect you. And that's what my thought process was. And I think that is something, I don't know, I'm very positive. I think वो culture और आएगा और धीरे 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 बढ़ते जाएगा. I think a lot of it is insecurities also.
yeah, and also a lot of it is newfound recognition. Kushal, I'm sorry to be blunt, but a
नहीं,
lot
आप
of
सच
people
बोल रहे हो दादा. ये कड़वी सच्चाई है. ये कड़वी सच्चाई है.
कि थोड़ा people are recognizing me, and people are I have a fairly big fan following, so everybody else should treat me like a star. But ठीक है, होता है. I think these are this is human nature, but it also sort of gets slowly, that whole pungency of success and headiness comes.
Yeah, I definitely feel we overall, what I liked is you covered. This is my honest opinion about the book. Uh, Obviously, I found it very weird that I was there in the book, but that is aside. But I loved the idea that you covered a wide array of people. That is very important. A wide array of people, and they are, they
Completely
disagree with
diverse.
each other. Yeah,
A lot of them disagree, fight, don't even look at one another's face. Now, maybe tomorrow they will. Some of them may not even subscribe to what they have said in this book, say 10, 15, 20 years later. But that is not my concern. My concern was this moment of time, just reporting it like Sanjay in Mahabharata. Bas utna hi.
absolutely. Absolutely. It was that, and that's what I loved about it. Dada, you've always been a fair, what I liked about you is you've always been fair. You've always been fair in your coverage, and I wish you nothing but success and happiness. And keep doing. Next book क्या लिखने वाले हो? What is next?
Next book will be on Gopal Patha, Gopal Mukherjee,
Oh,
the man who
nice.
saved Kolkata during Direct Action Day, the
Nice.
meat shop owner who saved Calcutta.
Oh, wow. Wow. I wish you all the best, Dada. And thank you very much for coming over for the chat, and all the best for all your future work.
Thank you so much, Kushal, for having me on your show. Thanks.
All right, guys, we'll wrap it up. Once again, in the description, you will have Abhijit Majundar's X handle and the link to buy this book. Go click the link, buy the book. It's a wonderful read. You'll actually get to know the views of a lot of personalities that you may watch regularly, but giving a third person's perspective about what a person thinks is very interesting to read at times. One thing is like when I read the bit about me, I was like, yeah, my thoughts are pretty consistent. I'm still the same because I spoke to Abhijit Dada quite a while ago. I don't even remember when we spoke. But my
Yeah, yeah.
thoughts have, yeah, my thoughts have
Spoke
stayed
in
pretty much.
Bombay or something, I think.
Yeah, I remember we had met in Bombay.
Tanzan.
Yeah, Land's End, yes, Land's End. मेरे को याद है Land's End में मिले थे हम लोग. And as far as I'm concerned, you guys know the drill. This podcast does not run on any advertisements, but only on you, the members of the podcast. So if you can join the membership program, do consider it, whether on YouTube or Patreon. If you want to send one-time donations, do consider sending them in Canada through Interac Canada to kushalmehra81@gmail.com. In India through UPI, kushalmehra@ICICI. If you want to buy the merch, you have Kadak merch or kushalmehra.com. If you can't do anything, just like this video, subscribe to the Cārvāka podcast YouTube channel, leave a comment in the comment section. And if you're listening to the audio version, leave a rating on your preferred audio platform. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, namaste, take care, have a nice day.